You are watching the EDC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Michael Hudson, coming to you from the Emerald City, Seattle, Washington. Tonight we have live updates from several of our correspondents from across the U.S. I'm Ellen Ramos, Washington, D.C.
President Trump to the COVID-19 task force, disband or remain, and the U.S. Supreme Court resumes hearings via live streaming.
Mayan Manzano Gorzon, Sicklerville, New Jersey.
All New Jersey schools will remain closed. Governor Murphy extends public health emergency.
Sheila Paras, Panorama City, California.
Los Angeles Health Services and World Central Kitchen partnered to distribute boxed meals to housing and outreach agencies.
And Anita Munuis in Dallas, Texas, tells us about the U.S. Navy Blue Angels flying over North Texas to salute healthcare and essential workers. Today's May 6th, and it's National Nurses Day. So joining us today are 5 nurses from different states sharing with us their journey in the healthcare world. But first, an overview of how the world looks now. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesday, May 6, 2020, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 3,700,000. This includes more than 1,200,000 in the U.S. and more than 63,000 in Canada. Sadly, this virus has claimed more than 59,000 lives worldwide. This number includes more than 71,000 deaths in the U.S. and more than 4,100 in Canada. Our coverage begins now. Eagle News correspondent Imelin Ramos in Washington, D.C. has the latest in the White House and the Supreme Court. Imelin.
Thank you, Mike. There's never a dull moment in Washington, D.C. On May 5, 2020, it appeared that the Trump administration was about to disband the emergency task force that is handling the COVID-19 outbreak. Vice President Pence stated, "I think we're starting to look at the Memorial Day, May 25 window, or early June window for shutting it down." This task force, which is headed by the Vice President and reports to President Trump, coordinates with the myriad of health officials and a variety of agencies and state governments to deal with the ongoing pandemic. This was what President Trump had to say about the task force. Please listen.
So I think that as far as the task force, Mike Pence and the task force have done a great job, but we're now looking at a little bit of a different form, and that form is safety and opening, and we'll have a different group probably set up for that.
Are you saying mission accomplished?
No, not at all. The mission accomplished is when it's over.
Understandably, there was public outcry and concern as reported by various news sites that it was too early to shut down the task force. Today, May 6, President Trump, through a series of tweets, seems to have backtracked from shutting down the coronavirus task force. One tweet stated, as I quote, "will continue on indefinitely with its focus on safety and opening up our country again." Referring to the task force, Trump also tweeted, "We may add or subtract people to it as appropriate." The task force will also be very focused on vaccines and therapeutics. It's good to know that the task force will continue. Most of us have grown accustomed to daily updates from the task force and receiving information from members of the task force like Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx. Whether it's good news or bad news, we need to continue to hear from our leaders, especially on the federal level. Also in Washington, D.C., the Supreme Court had its fair share of headlines. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was hospitalized with a gallstone infection. The press release from the Supreme Court on May 5 states, as I quote, "Justice Ruth Ginsburg underwent non-surgical treatment for acute cholecystitis, a benign gallbladder condition, this afternoon at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. She expects to stay in the hospital for a day or two. We at EBC News wish her well and hope she has a quick recovery." The Supreme Court did something new for the first time in its history. According to a recent NPR.com article, the U.S. Supreme Court begins an extraordinary 2 weeks of oral arguments on Monday. It will be the first time in history that the court was allowed live streaming of its audio and the first time that the court is hearing arguments via telephone hookup instead of flesh. So since Monday, under this new format, the Supreme Court heard various cases including Patent and Trademark Office versus Booking.com, Little Sisters of the Poor versus Pennsylvania, and other major cases. But on a lighter note, it was reported by someone at C-SPAN that the sound of flushing toilet could be heard during the remote oral arguments of the Supreme Court. I think we can all relate to that during this time. Whether we are doing a live broadcast like this or speaking to our family and friends via Zoom or WebEx, we sometimes like to multitask. Just make sure that when you do other tasks, the other person on the other side doesn't see or hear you. In Washington, D.C., I'm Melin Ramos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Emily. I just had a quick question for you. I'm really sorry to hear about Ms. Ginsburg and her condition that she's in. Was she able to hear or take part in the hearings today?
Yes, Mike. Today was the third day of oral arguments by telephone. According to a CNN article, Justice Ginsburg was indeed connected via phone. Although it was glitchy and her voice was weaker than normal, she was able to perform her duty. Mike.
Good. Okay. Well, before you go, I noticed that today is our National Nurses Day, so I wanted to ask you, do you have a pleasant memory of a nurse? May it be, a few days ago or several years ago when you were a little kid? Do you have something that stands out?
I am actually a nurse.
Oh, you are. That's right.
And
yeah.
so I am celebrating. I am honored to be acknowledged as a nurse, and although I am no longer active, I am just a nurse to my family now. So even if I'm not working as a nurse right now, I feel and I support our nurses today, what they are fighting for, and I thank them for risking their lives for us. And Mike, I just want to also greet my family. We are a family of nurses, so if I could just greet them. Tita Lucy Avila from California, Tita Eva Vital, and cousin Allison Medina in Forest Hills, New York, Ate Raquel Edgerlin in Belmore, New York, and of course to those who I owe my nursing career to, Tita Melanie Tapnyo and Ate Ivy Bondak in the Philippines. And to all nurses, Happy National Nurses Day to us. Mike.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much, Emily. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mike.
All New Jersey schools will remain closed, and Governor Murphy extends public health emergency. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, we have May Ann Manzano-Gorzon with the story.
Thank you, Mike. Let's begin with New Jersey's latest update on COVID-19 related cases. As of May 6, total number of New Jerseyans tested positive, 131,890. New positive cases reported today, 1,513. New number of deaths is 308. New Jersey's total fatalities is 8,549. On a positive note, more than 90,000 New Jerseyans have defeated COVID-19 for exiting the 2-week incubation window, and today there was 435 discharged from hospitalization. Now, Governor Murphy in his COVID-19 press briefing today said that the state is making steady progress and once again encouraged the New Jerseyans to continue what they're doing by adhering to the stay-at-home and social distancing orders. He also stressed that public health creates economic health and data determines dates. Now on to the headlines. Governor Murphy announced that all New Jersey school buildings will remain closed for in-person instruction for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year, and that all students and faculty will continue with remote learning. Private schools with longer academic years will remain closed until at least June 30. The governor said that the state officials reached this decision After much consideration with Commissioner Repolet and the Department of Education, district officials across the state, and multiple stakeholders, including both educators and parents. I had hoped that we could get back to a sense of normal by allowing our children to return to the schools they love and to be with their friends and classmates. But the reality is that we cannot safely reopen our schools to provide students and families or faculty and staff the confidence needed to allow for a return to in-person instruction, Governor Murphy said. In relation to this order, the governor directed all districts, charter, Renaissance County, VOCTEC, private and other school leaders to update their preparedness plans to ensure the continuation of remote learning. He also added that the state officials will work with districts on safe and creative ways to give the class of 2020 a proper send-off to their bright futures. New Jersey's Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repolet, thanked the governor for prioritizing the health and safety of the students, educators, and families here in New Jersey. Now, Governor Murphy also announced he's signing an executive order extending public health emergency in New Jersey for 30 days. The state of emergency was initially declared on March 9, 2020 through Executive Order number 103 and extended on April 7 through Executive Order number 119. Extending this declaration ensures that we can continue using every resource at our disposal to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, said Governor Murphy. Executive Order number 138 extends all executive orders issued under the governor's authority under the Emergency Health Powers Act. It also extends all actions taken by any executive branch departments and agencies in response to the public health emergency presented by the COVID-19 outbreak. And lastly, Mike, on behalf of the New Jersey Bureau, we would like to greet all educators out there a happy Teacher Appreciation Week. And to all of our nurses, thank you and happy National Nurses Day. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, May and Manzano Garzon, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Hey, thank you so much. So I had one quick question before you sign off. So in regards of the, I know you were touching upon education for quite a bit. So as far as the graduation goes, because I know we're getting around that time, has there been any creative ways that the state officials have discussed at this point?
Yes, Mike, Governor Murphy and the Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repolet, in the COVID-19 press briefing today, said they are trying to figure out some way, such as to have the graduation in August or a virtual ceremony, and all the way towards something down the road in some social distancing compliant way. And Governor Murphy also assured during the briefing that there's a lot of good thought being put into graduation to give the seniors a tip of the hat. Mike?
There we go. My senior year, that was one of the most memorable days of my life. I'm sure for you as well. But before you go, I have to ask you the question. It is National Nurses Day. So do you have a pleasant memory with a nurse that you can share with all of us?
Mike, I think this should be the moment when I gave birth to my first newborn. When I gave birth, my family was not with me. My sister, who is actually also a nurse, and my family, my mother, they live out of the country. So I was by myself most of the time because husband also needs to go to work. I was assisted, taken care of by a couple nurses, one nurse per shift. But there's this one nurse that stood out, particularly because she was tough, but at the same time, she was very loving and very caring and very motherly. She was probably the age of my mother. I remember when I was feeling so tired, so much in pain, she forced me to get out of the bed, get up from my bed and take a shower so I could feel better. And also I remember when my newborn was having a hard time latching, feeding from me, she said that I don't care if you make your baby miserable, whatever you make to keep him awake because he needs to eat. She was very tough, but her advice were just like, very loving and very motherly at the same time. Because yeah, my baby needs to eat, so whatever I do, it's fine. But the priority is to feed the baby and to take a shower, so I would feel better. So yeah, that would definitely be my most memorable memory of a one tough, loving nurse.
Yeah, I love food and I love taking showers, so it makes perfect sense. All right, Mayan, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Los Angeles Health Services and World Central Kitchen partner to distribute box meals to housing and outreach agencies. In Panorama City, California, Eagle News correspondent Sheila Paras with the details. Sheila?
Thank you, Mike. In Los Angeles County, the total number of confirmed cases is 28,644, with 1,367 deaths as announced today by the Los Angeles Public Health Department. Meanwhile, the state of California now has 58,924 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 2,396 deaths as recorded by the Johns Hopkins University and Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center. During these trying times, acts of kindness and generosity go a long way. What better way to show our care and concern for those around us than providing food and meals to those in need or those in our vulnerable communities? Yesterday, Los Angeles Health Services and World Central Kitchen partnered to distribute boxed meals to housing and outreach agencies. This more than 8,200 boxed meals will be provided to both sheltered and unsheltered clients who are currently self-isolating due to the COVID-19 virus. World Central Kitchen, or WCK, was founded by Chef Jose Andres in 2010. At present, the World Central Kitchen's hashtag Chefs for America nationwide emergency food relief program is working across the states to distribute pre-packaged fresh meals to vulnerable communities. WCK is actively providing roughly 250,000 fresh meals throughout dozens of cities in the United States. In addition to providing meals to vulnerable communities, the Hub is also partnering with local restaurants affected by COVID-19 in an effort to provide them with business restaurant doors open. World Central Kitchen aims to buy 1 million meals from local restaurants and bring them to those in need. Restaurants interested in partnering with WCK for this relief program can sign up for more information at wck.org/restaurant-survey. In addition, specifically in Los Angeles County, the 5-step plan was announced for the gradual relaxing of the current safer at home order, where LA County is currently on stage 1. Stage 2 is set to be launched on May 8th, where trails, parks, car dealerships, and some retailers can open their doors as long as social distancing guidelines can be followed. The dates for when the final 3 stages for reopening will be launched are yet to be given, but will be based on the risks for the spread of the virus. In Panorama City, California, Sheila Paras, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Mike.
That's a pretty awesome program you were talking about there, Sheila. So, when everything gets back to normal and businesses are allowed to open, what's going to be the first place you go to once everything opens?
Well, I think my family would immediately go out to eat at our favorite all-you-can-eat KBBQ, Korean barbecue, or to our favorite Thai restaurant.
Oh, man, that hits the spot right there. So I have to ask you as well, National Nurses Day, favorite memory with a nurse. Tell us.
Yes. Well, my husband Edgar is a nurse. So, he is right now among our brave new age heroes fighting in the front lines of this pandemic. I don't have any one particular favorite memory. Instead, my favorite memory, especially now during these times, memories I say, will have to be every time when he opens our door after his night shift, he works from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And most nights he would go home with, food for us. So he would say hi from the door, away from us. We're in the living room, and he would set the food on the kitchen table, and he would ask my daughter to put his towel in the bathroom, and he would then immediately go to the bathroom and take a shower. And after that, he will come back to the living room, and that will just be the time when he can kiss us one by one, And then he will ask us, why are you all still awake? It's already 12 o'clock, And I guess we have to see him safely home before we go to bed.
There you go, man. What a touching story. Thanks for sharing that with us, Sheila. You have a good night, okay?
Thank you, Mike.
The U.S. Navy Blue Angels fly over North Texas to salute healthcare and essential workers. Nanita Manawis in Dallas reports. Let's take a look.
Here in Frisco, Texas, at the Scott Baylor and White Hospital, Texas residents are keeping their eyes on the sky in anticipation of the U.S. Blue Angels' arrival.
Hi, I'm Catherine, and we came out here to support the first responders and to see the Blue Angels.
They just passed over really fast. It was awesome, and they are in support, I guess, of all of our first responders and nurses and doctors that are going through this COVID-19 here in, I guess it's now May 2020. But we just saw them, and it was amazing, and there's tons of people out here in Frisco supporting our country and President Trump and the administration and the Blue Angels, of course.
The U.S. Navy Blue Angels Elite Flight Maneuvering Demonstration Team flew over North Texas at 11 a.m. on Wednesday in honor of doctors and nurses and other healthcare and essential workers during the pandemic. Beginning at 11 a.m. in McKinney, the Blue Angels took a winding route flying over several North Texas cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in a 35-minute performance as part of the America Strong Tour to salute workers helping in the fight against COVID-19. In Frisco, Texas, I'm Anita Manawis, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Nanita. Really good story. When we come back, we will meet 5 modern-day warriors frontlining the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Eagle News will return shortly. Stay with us.
Magtatagumpay tayo, salamat. Kung mag-fail tayo, salamat. Ang importante po, sinubukan natin, ginawa natin yung makakaya natin.
Napatunayan ko na yung talent na binigay sa akin ng Diyos, mas may expose pa. Kaya sa mga ibang artist dyan, lalo na sa mga may kapansanan din, mag-explore pa tayo ng ibang bagay tulad nito. Huwag tayong magtago, huwag tayong mahihiya. Gawin natin kung ano yung gusto talaga nating gawin.
This program is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sanmig Sugar-Free White Coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na Sanmig Sugar-Free White Coffee, Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo ganado ang fur babies nyo. Listo ganado sa Nutri-Chunks. Co-presented by Kubert, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Kubert, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee. Masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Unlad Incorporated International. Fight against global poverty. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint. Color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. Saisho International Trading Corporation. DN Steel. EMAC UPVC Roof Corporation.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, San-Mig Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! San-Mig Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
The successful development of TPLEX, or Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway in 2009, a 4-lane toll road that extends from Tarlac City to Rosario, La Union, with an additional approved extension of 56 kilometers all the way to San Juan, La Union. This is expected to reduce travel time to Baguio and other provinces in northern Luzon. Realizing the vision of creating a better world for Filipinos fueled the team's focus.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching Eagle News. I am Michael Hudson in Seattle. National Nurses Day is about bringing recognition to the commitment and contributions nurses make in our communities every single day. COVID-19 has really brought that front and center, and we like to hear how they are holding up during this pandemic. So with us tonight, we have 5 nurses. First, we'd like to introduce Danica Lizardo in Kent, Washington, neurocardiac nurse for 4 years. She's had experience in active rehab. How you doing, my fellow Washingtonian?
Oh, it's a good day in Seattle. It's sunny, so I can't complain. Hi, Mike.
Yeah. Next, we have Lester Nafuente, Omaha, Nebraska. A nurse for 18 years, 10 in the ER, 5 in the clinical setting, and 3 in the OR, and floated to the ER because of the pandemic. How you doing tonight, Lester?
I'm doing very well, Mike. Thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. We also have Alegria Fernandez, Phoenix, Arizona, nurse for 17 years, worked mostly in neuro and trauma ICU and behavioral unit. She's presently working in neuro ICU and behavioral unit. How you doing tonight?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for asking.
Great. And we have Nicole Mayo from Astoria, New York. She's the youngest guest tonight, actually, and she's worked in a nursing home straight from school. And she's been a nurse for 3 years, and she's currently the nurse supervisor at a specialized nursing facility in New York. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And lastly, we have Gina Carino from Vineland, New Jersey. She's been a nurse for 16 years in the surgical/ortho unit. How you doing tonight?
Hi, Mike. I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you and everybody else as well. Thanks for joining us. So, anybody can answer this. How are you guys doing? And are you guys? How many hours of sleep have you guys gotten so far?
We're surviving, I guess.
Good, awesome. So, let's go ahead and ask some questions. So, Lester, do you want to kind of go into detail about kind of what your typical day looks like and things of that nature, especially during this time?
Sure, Mike. Actually, currently, I've actually been at home with my family. I've been lucky enough to not have to go into the ER over the past couple weeks just because our census is pretty low. When I did float down to the ER recently, it's pretty intense, but at the same time, it's kind of just one of those things that we're used to. Having had so much experience in the ER, it's just like an everyday thing for everybody down there. So I can't say it's any different than how it usually is in the ER, but at the same time, people are at heightened, awareness because of this pandemic. But otherwise, I think everyone's doing pretty well.
Gotcha. And how about you, Danica? How's the environment at the place you're working at right now?
Probably the same as him. It's not as busy as we were hoping in the beginning because Washington is, obviously the first state that got hit with the virus. Ever since then, we started preparing for the surge, and luckily we didn't get that surge. It's pretty low census, low number, but of course it's still really scary.
Exactly. And Gina, can you kind of tell me a little bit about, are there any concerns coming from your end right now when it comes to your workplace environment, or do you feel pretty secure? Or how's that going so far? I think we're having some audio troubles there, so we'll...
Hi, Mike.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hi, Mike. I actually live in the southern part of New Jersey, so most people are actually practicing social distancing and other government guidelines. However, we see a surge of patients in the southern part of New Jersey at this time with new outbreaks in our long-term care facilities such as nursing homes in the area. So it is a bit of concern in our hospital. And actually, I am very lucky to work in a non-COVID unit at this time. So even if I usually work in a surgical orthopedic unit, there are not a lot of surgical and orthopedic cases at this time, except for emergency cases. But with COVID, we are admitting non-COVID patients in our units.
Gotcha. And Allegria, with Gina, she's not working in a COVID unit. Are you working in a COVID unit? If so, can you kind of describe to us the difference between just working a typical, normal day as compared to working in a COVID unit, if you are?
Well, we have 2 ICUs in our hospital, and the other ICU we converted that as a COVID unit, and then our ICU is the clean unit or the non-COVID unit. So when this pandemic has started, I was part of checking all those patients, like checking them if they're positive for COVID, testing a lot of COVID patients, and those are the moment that I've been part of it. But right now, like what I said, I'm working in a clean ICU unit, so I haven't been really taking care of like a real COVID patient as of yet.
Gotcha. Nicole, you being the youngest one here, major kudos to you, by the way. What initially inspired you to get into the profession?
My mom is a nurse herself, and just seeing how she is whenever I would come with her back then when I was younger at work and see how she would take care of her patients, that inspired me to become a nurse myself. And to go back to your previous question, with regards to COVID, our facility is actually transitioning to start to care for COVID patients. So right now I'm currently assigned in the COVID unit of my facility, and we're we're trying to find our ground, see how everything is. The amount of patients that we're receiving is increasing now because as patients are getting better, they are starting to transition towards to rehab prior to sending them home. So this is currently what we're facing with, and trying to lessen the spread of the virus to staff. Currently, only nurses are the ones who are working on the floor, so we're kind of a bit overwhelmed, but we're dealing. We're trying to deal as much as we can, and we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. And Gina, going back to you, I know that New Jersey is probably one of the most intense places right now. Do you feel that the state is doing all they can to basically rectify this virus? If not, what would you do differently if you were in their shoes?
I feel that New Jersey is doing everything they can to stop the spread of the virus. The governor had issued additional orders for the emergency COVID task force, and also the schools are closed for the remainder of the school year. And at the same time, we are seeing more personal protective equipment that are being delivered into our hospitals. During the start of this pandemic, we were only allowed to change our surgical mask every 7 days, but during these times, we are allowed to change our surgical mask for daily. So when you are working in a non-COVID unit, you are required to wear a mask at all times. They are the surgical mask. So it is very important to adhere to these guidelines.
Absolutely. And Danica, to get back to you, us being fellow Washingtonians, as you know, that our stay-at-home order was extended to May 31st. Do you think that's too soon? Or do you think they should push it out more? What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, that's a pretty tricky question, just because I feel like you just never know. There's still a lot of things that we don't know about the virus. But, even now with the stay-at-home orders, there's a lot of people not really taking it seriously. Like, I would go to the grocery store and then, there are people hanging out in the parking lot or whatnot. But here in the Washington state, when we first started the lockdown, it seemed like the number was flattening, and then now kind of slowly we're just kind of going back up again, but we just don't know. It's kind of scary.
It definitely is. And how about you, Lester? Do you guys have a timetable as far as going back, basically going back to normal, quote unquote?
Not necessarily back to normal. I guess this kind of is our new normal, to say. But this week, they've started to reopen businesses, still following the 10-person restriction in any building or any retail store. So I don't know if, I understand the 6 feet, all the guidelines, the social distancing guidelines and everything. My only concern is that all it takes is one person. It takes one thing that you touch. Anything that you encounter may be a risk for you to acquire this virus. So, it's hard to say any time is a good time to start back up again. What my main concern at this moment would be if we can get a vaccine as soon as possible. That would be great, and everybody will be able to be immune to it. But until that day, everything is always going to be a concern. For businesses, I understand they want to, start going back into business, and it's our economy is dwindling. So I understand why things are starting to reopen. It's just a matter of, yes, they can control how many people they can come in. The problem is, how well can we control the public to follow those guidelines? That's my biggest concern.
Absolutely. And to touch on that, Alegria, do you feel that at least everybody in your area are following, social distancing and other rules to basically prevent the spread of the virus. If so, I mean, or if not, what else can they do to basically start following the rules?
Yeah, I think here in Phoenix, I see mostly they're following social distancing. But then, when they see the hiking trails, you see a lot of cars. It means that, they're all in the hiking area. I don't know, of course, if they can follow social distancing there. But pretty much, yeah, I think they follow social distancing in general.
Gotcha. Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to have a little fun with you guys. We have some more questions for you. So this is Eagle News, and stay with us. We'll be right back in a moment.
Abangan! At malapit na po, Tagisan ng Magaling!
Mga kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones, with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray. Pray for everyone. Pray for everything that is going on right now. Especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
Lagi tayong manalangin dahil yung po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News. I'm Michael Hudson in Seattle. We continue our discussion with our 5 frontline warriors who are working during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions, some wacky ones here or there. So anybody can take this one. So can you tell us your funniest or most embarrassing moment on the job? Who wants to go first?
I think I'll go first. I think it's a combination of funniest and embarrassing. So my coworker, we work in the ICU, she called for a code and she was like, hey, help me, bring the code card in room 10. So I went to room 10 and then only to find that the patient was there, like super intact with family around. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, what's going on? The family's like, what's wrong? What happened? I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I went to a different room. I think that's the most embarrassing and at the same time funniest. And then after that code, we laugh about it. But anyway, that patient who coded, he survived.
There we go. How about you, Gina?
Well, last week we were taking care of a 90-year-old patient, and she cannot completely understand why no visitors are allowed in the hospital. So we made sure that we were rounding on her very often, and we were giving her extra TLC. And then all of a sudden, she called us in the room, and she wanted to pay us for our services.
Gotcha. So, Lester, I have a new question for you. What's your favorite all-time nursing moment? You know, it could be just something that's memorable. Say you helped somebody or someone that helped you through your career. Is there a moment you can share with us?
Well, Mike, there's several memories of good moments that I've had as a nurse. Having been nursing for 18 years, all the nurses can attest to this. It's kind of like we want to quit our jobs every single day, but there's always that moment that it's such a thankless profession, first of all. So when you get that gratitude from someone, when someone comes to you who, like myself, I worked in the emergency department. So there were times when patients would come in unconscious. By the time they leave, they'd come back to the ER from whatever unit they were in, and they would thank us for the job that we did to help them. And it's like, darn, I guess I'm going to stay in my profession. It's kind of one of those things where it's just like, even though it's a thankless job, there are so many rewards that we gain from being a nurse. I think everyone in their experience, everyone that has gone into the profession, our objective was to help people. And that's what we do. Every day we're helping people, but that's just innate in us. You know, it's something that we just do. We're not always looking for the gratitude. We're not always looking for the recognition. But during this time, during this pandemic, people are realizing what we are exposing ourselves to, what we're doing to help them in spite of all the danger that we do encounter. And we do this without even a second thought. So the fact that everybody's appreciating it, everything that I'm seeing online now, all the things that people are doing, it's like I was working in the ER and nobody even knew who we were. And now it's like, wow, everybody knows who we are as nurses and everybody appreciates what we do. So I guess that's my biggest thing right now, is just that recognition that we are all receiving.
Great. Yeah, that's a great answer, man. And Danica, how about you? What's an inspiring moment that has stood out in your career so far?
Oh, there's countless, but I guess I can talk about my most recent experience with my 93-year-old patient. Because we're not taking in any visitors and she knows that she's about to pass away, she's accepted the fact that she won't be seeing her family members anymore. So, you know, for that day, she held my hand, and she didn't know that I planned a little FaceTime party for her and her family. So that was really rewarding, you know, her thanking me and, you know, us shedding a tear or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nicole, I know you're still early in your career, but do you have any other inspiring moments that has happened to you so far?
I think you know, I would agree with both sisters, with both Danica and Lester, with regards to it just being, you know, receiving that thanks from either the patients themselves or from their families. Like recently, I just updated, you know, a family member with regards to one of my patients. You know, just gave them a simple, oh, they're doing fine, their vitals are okay, they're participating in rehab, and there's nothing to worry about. And then later that day in the afternoon, I already received a card from that said family member just saying thank you, that they greatly appreciate the fact that I was able to take 3 minutes out of my time throughout the day just to give them an update to kind of relieve any anxiousness that they've been feeling, because, you know, it is like, and as much as it's stressful for the patients themselves, it's probably more stressful from for the family, being that they don't know how their family members are doing. And, you know, just hearing that thanks, knowing that they're thankful for what we do, it you know, it just makes it all worthwhile. The sweat, sometimes the tears. Yeah, that's one of the things that keeps me going, even, you know, because even though I just started, I myself have wanted to quit already. But, you know, that's what's keeping all of us going.
Absolutely. And so this is a question for anybody can take this one. I mean, if you could just use one word only to describe your experience from the moment the virus entered the United States till now. If you can just use one word to describe your experience, what would it be?
It's very
Crazy.
Crazy?
I would say unprecedented. Extremely unprecedented.
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Who
That's
else?
stressful.
Stressful.
And you go through different emotions in a 12-hour shift or a 10-hour shift. You go through different emotions, from being scared to being unfamiliar, having so much compassion, and having the courage and the resilience to overcome all the unfamiliar situations that you have to go through for that shift. So
Absolutely. Definitely. So Danica, right now everybody, as Gina wisely said, a mixture of emotions. Everybody's feeling something different every single day. I mean, what's your advice to people who are not really fond about the medical life and the medical field? What would you tell them how to get through this right now? How to hold on and to stay resilient and to stay positive through this?
Well, as people, we always learn how to adapt, but we just have to follow our leaders for now and just take this thing seriously, because sometimes I wish they could see what we have to deal with in the hospital, and we put ourselves at risk, and we come home not knowing that we brought the virus home to our family. So we just have to, consider other people around us and follow the guidelines that's put out there.
Absolutely. And Allegria, do you have anything to add to that?
Same thing with sister. Plus, I believe in the power of prayers. I think that's the only thing that I can do right now. This pandemic is real, although some of the people you will hear them that they don't believe it, and then sometimes you will hear them, it's just a regular flu. It'll go away. It's just a regular, like a flu season, comes in winter time and then leave in summertime. But it's not, this is real. So I think, power of prayers.
Absolutely. How about you, Lester?
I guess my advice to anyone who's in the medical field right now is just, take a step back and see how good we have it already. There are times when we are putting ourselves at risk. We are putting ourselves at the front line, but we are taking the necessary steps to keep ourselves safe. So as long as we're following all the guidelines, as long as we're doing what we need to do, and if, for those who believe, if we have your faith in God, we'll all be fine and we'll get through this together. So it's just take a step back and realize that what is happening, yes, is unprecedented, but at the same time, we're going to get through it, and we're all alive. We're all healthy that we know of. So let's appreciate that.
Couldn't agree more. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time, you guys. Again, thank you so much for what you guys do. You guys are definitely heroes. You've changed so many people's lives. You're truly an inspiration to all of us. And we wish you all the very best in your future endeavors.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care. When we come back, a thank you message for our nurses and frontline healthcare workers. Eagle News will return shortly. Stay with us.
Isang magandang itasyon po para sa inyong lahat. Ngayong May 9, May 10, dito po sa Net 25. Hala, ito na ang bagong programa. Ang pamagat ay Tagisan ng Galing. Makikita po natin kung gaano kagaling ang Pilipino. Ang Pinoy ay talagang magaling. Ito po ay pang-aliw, pangkasiyahan, at siguradong magugustuhan ninyo. Net 25, May 9, May 10, Tagisan ng Galing.
You're watching Eagle News. I'm Michael Hudson in Seattle. Before we end tonight's program, we wish to thank all the nurses, frontline healthcare workers, as well as our essential workers who are risking their health, their life to keep ours safe. This is for you. Take a look.
That is working on the front lines as we battle this virus. Thank you. Thank you for risking your health to make sure we are safe. You went to work for us, we'll stay home for you.
Thank you to those in the medical field, the shipping industry, sanitation and waste management workers, and other essential workers and first responders. You sacrificed your well-being for us, and for that, we are extremely grateful. You went to work for us. We will stay home for you.
To all the frontliners out there, we will never know how you're feeling as individuals as you risk your lives on a daily. But do know that we appreciate y'all's sacrifices. Let's hope and pray together that this pandemic will be over sooner than later so that we can all be back to normalcy. You went to work for us. We will stay home for you.
Hello, my name is Aaron Abin, and I'm a resident of Gaithersburg, Maryland. And this is just a quick greeting to all of the first responders out there who are helping out with this COVID-19 pandemic. So I know that a lot of you guys are spending lots of time away from your families, risking your own health, and spending lots of effort in order to assist those who are being affected by this pandemic. And I'd like to thank you for all this effort that you're putting in, and even though a lot of us are currently off work, or in my case off school, you guys are still working hard. Thank you for going to work for us, and because of that, we'll stay home for you.
To all our frontliners in this pandemic, we would like to thank you all for your hard work. We know it's not easy, yet you show up every day to help save lives. Thank you all so much. You went to work for us. We will stay home for you.
Hi, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio from Corpus Christi, Texas. And to all of our first responders, whether you're there saving lives or keeping the world running, or even just helping at the grocery checkout stand, in whatever capacity that you help, we appreciate everything that you're doing, because every single day you are stepping out the door, you're putting yourself at risk for the purpose of helping your community and even your nation. And so while you go to work, we'll stay home for you. We'll be right here waiting for you.
This is a message from our family to all the frontliners that are there facing the COVID-19 pandemic, all the doctors, nurses, and EMTs that are working so hard and fighting for us. We just want to say from our family, thank you, and we hope that you stay safe and that every single shift you're able to go back home safely to your families. That's why we want to do our part, which is a small part, but we want to tell you this. We promise that
you go to work for us, and we will stay home for you.
Hi, we just want to take a moment to thank all the frontliners out there, the medical workers, doctors, nurses, police officers, any of the essential employees out there.
We thank you for continuing to do the work that you do, and because of you, we are safe and hopeful.
You are all so brave, and we really appreciate the work that you guys are doing.
And because you went to work for us, we will stay home for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Social and physical distancing, along with self-isolation when needed, are crucial to lessen the spread of the COVID-19 virus. That's what the experts are saying. That's what the local governments are saying. So let's listen to them. Let's listen to all the frontliners who tell us to stay home as they continue to go to work and face exposure. There's only so many of them. So let's stand united with and not against them in fighting the real enemy. From Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, we extend our most sincerest thanks to all of the frontliners around the world for your sacrifice and hard work. Continue to go to work for us, and we will continue to stay home for you.
Eagle Broadcasting Corporation invites you to our 52nd anniversary event, Enjoy Music Beyond the Crisis. It is an online concert that's streamed in the last 2 Sundays and will happen again on May 10th and 17th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Philippine time. It's an e-concert for a cause streamed on all EBC social media channels to help our frontliners, healthcare workers, and communities affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. A few reminders before we end today. Wash your hands often with soap and water. Cover your mouth and nose if sneezing or coughing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid contact with sick people. And if you are sick, stay home and call your healthcare provider. Practice social distancing. Keep distance between yourself and others. And avoid crowds. Wear a protective face covering when out in public. Let's continue to thank our frontline and essential workers with a round of applause. We appreciate you guys. Well, that's it for today's EBC International coverage of the coronavirus pandemic, North America edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Hudson. We live in interesting times.